Hello. In this video I'm going to explain the standard deviation. What is it? How can you calculate it by hand based on this formula you see here, and I will also calculate it with an Excel formula. And in the end I will give a short remark about the variance and the standard deviation. So what's the difference? Okay, let's go and calculate it. I prepared a sample data set. You see here 12 students who had a mark for a certain test. Now, let's first make a graph of it. I select the data points, in this case 12 rows, as you can see there, and I click on Insert Graph, and I want a scatter diagram. So here's my data points. I changed the title and I call it Distribution of Marks. Okay, the first thing we are going to calculate is the average. So let's call here the average, and we are going to do that with the formula equals average, returns the average of its arguments, tab, and select the data points. Bracket close, but we also click on F4 in order to fix it, because we are going to copy this down. Control Enter, and then send it down and copy. Alright, so we have an average of 6.4 as the average mark for those 12 students. Okay, let's put these average values into a graph as well. Right mouse button, copy, click on the graph, right mouse button, and then just paste it. And the average marks are also in this graph. Well, I don't like these data points here. I want a straight line. So double click on the dots. And we can see we have some option here, format data series. It's in fill and line, and we say we want a solid line, and the color is red, or you can choose another color. Do we have also markers? Yes, we have markers. So the marker, we say we don't want markers. We have a straight line. Okay, close this. So the average is visible here, and now are we going to calculate the standard deviation. The standard deviation, you can find lots of formulas on the internet. And how does it look? Well, it looks quite difficult, but it actually is not. Xi are the individual data points, and X with a line above is the average. Now we calculate the difference, and then we square it. So first, let's make the difference, or the distance from this data point to this line, equals xi is the mark minus the average. Enter. And this is minus 1.9. That means 1.9 below the average is this first data point. Alright, let's copy this down, and we have all the different distances. Well, if we would sum it with alt equal, and we make a sum of it, then the sum is 0. Why is that? Because the positive and the negative values return to a 0. So this is not very helpful. Well, we should square it, as you can see here. You should square it. So let's make a square distance. Distance squared equals this data point minus 1.9 to the power of 2. I could also say d5 multiplied by d5, but I can also use this formula. Control Enter, and then copy it down. Alright, these are the distances squared, and all values are of course positive. Now, what else do we see? We see an n minus 1. N is the number of observations. The number of observations. Alright, how many observations do we have here? Well, we have 12 data points, equals 12. The number of observations. We should calculate n minus 1. So we say then n minus 1 is 11. Alright, and we see the formula here, how we calculate it. Now, we have a sum of it, and the sum is calculated here. Let's make a sum of it. And this is the sigma sign for sum. Alt equal, and we sum it up 20.7. Now we are going to divide this, and we are going to divide this 20.7 divided by 11. So let's calculate it. Equals 20.7 divided by 11, and that brings us 1.879. Now, therefore, in the end, we have to take the square root of it. Equals square root, returns the square root of a number, and we have this number here, and we see now that our calculated value is 1.3. And this is the same as the Excel formula. I'm going to put an Excel formula here. Excel formula equals standard deviation. And then we have two, standard deviation of the population and standard deviation of the sample. And we choose for standard deviation of the sample. Tab. And what we're going to do now is just to select all the marks which are available here, bracket close, and if we have done our calculations well, the calculated value by hand is the same as the standard deviation from the sample. Alright, what is then the variance? Well, the variance is just the value we calculated before, 1.8, so without the square root, then this is called then the variance, and this is called then the standard deviation. Alright, I hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.